Welcome to Next Game's January 2021 Intense Ambuscade video, this month against Lamia. In this video, I'll go over the key item acquisition for this month, the battle strategy I suggest you use, and then battle examples on very easy with Red Mage and on easy with Ninja. This is easily the most challenging month to solo that I've ever seen, so let's get into what's involved. First, for your key item, you will need one Lamia kill for your daily quest, or just another single Lamia kill if you want to do this quest multiple times a day, so nice and easy. The main place I like going to these is Whitegate, home point number 2, and then using the staging point port to El Russi Al Tol. Here, you can go ahead and run quickly to some Lamia. Another way to do this is to use a survival guide to Cadaver Mire, and then enter a Pargo Reef right behind you, and down the path some way are some Lamia on some boats. Now in regards to the battle strategy for this month, the main NM that you'll be going against is the Bozzetto Freya, who is a ranger. She'll be assisted by a Bozzetto Frigg, who is also a ranger, and a Bozzetto Scathi, who is also a ranger. Now if the Scathi or Frigg are killed before Freya is killed, they will be immediately respawned by Freya, so there's no sense in killing those before Freya is dealt with. Freya is weak to piercing damage, Frigg is weak to slashing damage, and Scathi is weak to blunt damage. Now keep in mind, even though they are weak to these different forms of damage, they are not strong to the other forms, so the other forms still will do decent damage. This means I will normally still use my katanas for the blunt damage NM, and oftentimes if I can get skill chains off, I will still use my katanas for the piercing damage NM as opposed to a dagger, just because it ends up doing more overall DPS. You'll have to make your own decision in regards to what weapons you want to use for these NMs. Now similar to NMs in Omen, they possess a regain effect that is going to become more potent as their hit point decreases to where they're pretty much spamming TP moves under 25% hit points, so make sure you are ready for this. Now the first thing we need to talk about is on very easy and easy, Freya will cause all 3 NMs to use Eagle Eye Shot at the same instant for a very good amount of damage right as she passes her 75% hit point threshold. Now on these difficulties, it inflicts 900 to 1100 damage on whoever they each have hate on, and since there are 3 of them, the tank will take upwards of 3000 damage if he has hate on all 3. Since it's not over 1100 damage, Migawari won't help you avoid one of these, and you can possibly die, so you must make sure you have fresh shadows up as you cross that 75% HP threshold. I also recommend having hit point katanas and hit point food if you're at all worried about dying to this. Now please note, on higher difficulties, Eagle Eye Shot hits for even more damage and occurs every 25% hit points instead of just at 75%, so make sure you keep this in mind when it comes to your strategies in your party setups. Freya must maintain eye contact with the tank at all times. If eye contact is broken, Freya will begin roaming around everywhere, regardless of the enmity that she currently has. Now on normal and higher difficulties, all of the NMs are going to possess this mechanic, so make sure you keep that in mind if you're trying this in a party setup, and make sure that if one of these NMs happens to wander off, whoever it wanders off and goes to, that person needs to bring it back to the tank to re-establish that eye contact. Let's move on to the abilities you'll see during this fight. Now all of the Lamia possess the usual abilities that you would expect a Lamia to possess, but they also each have a few unique abilities to each one of them that make this fight quite challenging. Let's talk about those unique abilities now. Now Freya's unique abilities to look out for are Pinning Shot, which is an AoE damage and bind ability, Petrifying Dance, or what is now known as Edifying Dance it looks like, and that is an AoE terror ability that lasts usually about 8 to 10 seconds, and Imperiling Disregard, which appears to only occur on normal and above, because I did not see this ability, but it is a 15-foot AoE petrification, and if you are not facing Freya, will give you a 3-second doom timer, so watch out for this if you're trying this in a party setup. Next, let's talk about Frigg's nasty abilities. The first and nastiest is Rock's Baladi Dance. This is an AoE charm and burn if facing Frigg. You need to make sure that if Frigg starts to prepare this, you immediately turn. Now on very easy through difficult, this only occurs once Freya is defeated, so you don't need to watch for it the entire fight. Now on very difficult, this will be used often during the entire fight, so that's where you need to use extra caution. The other ability that you'll see used is Chastening Disregard. Now, I didn't see this, so I have to believe it only occurs on normal and above. Next, let's move on to Scathy, who is the most challenging item, in my opinion, in this fight. Now, Scathy is going to use Calcifying Deluge, which is a conal damage and petrification ability. You don't really have to worry too much about this one. But this next one is the most dangerous in this entire fight. It used to be called Blight Dance, and it looks like they've renamed it to Noxious Dance. Now, if you are facing Scathy when this goes off, it will inflict AoE 300 damage per tick poison and a 30-second petrification. Now on very easy, this wears off after a second, but if you're on the easy difficulty and solo, all of your trust are already going to be facing Scathy, which means they're all going to be hit with this as well, and it always means the end of your run. This is the most challenging mechanic of this fight to get past if you're trying this solo on the easy difficulty. We'll talk about how you handle this in a minute. The other things you'll see Scathy use are Heaven's Arrow, and this will do upwards of 2,000 AoE damage on easy, and it resets hate from what I'm told. So make sure that you watch out for it and keep Migawari up at all times to make sure that this just bounces off you. If your trust happen to still be alive when you're fighting Scathy, they will undoubtedly die to the first use of Heaven's Arrows. Next will be Imperiling Disregard, and again, I did not see this on my very easy and easy difficulties, so I have to assume it only occurs on normal and above. And again, this can be avoided as long as everyone is facing Scathy. So this brings us to the battle strategy part of the video. How is it we can get around all of these abilities, especially in a solo setting when we only have a limited tool chest to work with? Now, careful timing is needed at many parts of the fight if you're going solo, and 90% of the time your trusts are going to die, so you need a way to keep yourself alive. This is what the ninja with dancer subjob is for in this fight. It does make it a bit more challenging to keep hate there at the beginning, but it's the only way you can survive when your trusts die, and they will almost certainly die. Start by taking Frigg to 5% hit points, so that she can be quickly killed as soon as you take out Freya. Now once Frigg is at 5% hit points, immediately switch to Freya. Make sure you do not kill Frigg. Now you want to use hit point food, hit point katanas, whatever it takes to get over 3,000 hit points, as that's what will give you the best chance of surviving the Eagle Eye Shot Barrage at 75%. Now if you're lucky, Scathy is normally bouncing around between the different trusts at this point in the fight because you haven't been able to give her any attention. That's good. Let that continue. Because what you want to happen is for Scathy not to be on you when you pass that 75% threshold, so that she will use Eagle Eye Shot on one of your trusts. Now it's going to undoubtedly kill them, but like I already said, they're all going to die anyway, and this will almost undoubtedly save your life and make your life much easier once you cross that threshold. Now once you're past 75% hit points, go ahead and take off those hit point katanas, put on your damage dealing katanas, and get to work. Now once the Eagle Eye Barrage is over, you now need to take Freya the rest of the way down while still keeping hate on the rest of the Lamia, and now trying to get hate on Scathy so that she's not always bouncing around. Being sure to keep eye contact with Freya throughout it all, of course, because otherwise Freya will start bouncing around. Now if you're on the easy difficulty, the Noxious Dance is going to kill your trust, as they will all be facing the Lamia when it goes off. Now there are a few ways I have found to deal with this to give yourself better chances of at least some of your trust surviving. First, try to keep Scathy behind you at all times while being on top of the trust. This will cause them to kind of bunch up around you and face different directions. This way, if Noxious Dance does go off, hopefully only a certain number of them are facing Scathy, allowing some of the remainder to survive. It's sadly the only defense we really have solo against this move. This month, SE made it so that the easy difficulty is pretty much nearly unbeatable, because as you're seeing here, I'm going to have to pretty much solo the entire run without trust because of this Noxious Dance move. Hopefully, next month's will be much easier because I don't like what they did here this month. I also recommend paralyzing and putting the TP production of urine on Scathy for the first part of the fight to cut down on the amount of TP moves that she will be using while you kill the other two Lamia. Remember, she has regain, so she's not going to need to land any attacks to use those nasty abilities. So keep those shadows up, negate as much TP as you can give her, but either way, she's still going to use at least a handful of TP moves during the first part of this run. Now once Freya is dead, Frigg will start spamming Rock's Baladi Dance every 3 seconds. This is why we've already reduced Rock's hit points to 5% at the start of the fight. I recommend putting Frigg behind you along with Scathy at the last minute before killing Freya, so that you don't get stuck in an animation and charmed while switching to Frigg. I know it sounds like you probably have some time, but you really don't. Frigg starts casting that charm immediately once Freya dies, and you almost always will get charmed unless you are already facing away, so please keep this strategy in mind. Now, quickly finishing off Frigg is quite simple with a simple weapon skill, and then you need to focus on taking down Scathy. Now, Scathy will start using Blight Dance, or what's known as Noxious Dance now, very often, as soon as Frigg is dead, so you want to be sure to always have your back to her when you cast and weapon skill, or you risk getting caught in an animation and dying, and your whole run is for naught. Now, I cannot emphasize patience at the end enough if you're on the easy difficulty, because all it takes is a single Noxious Dance to hit you, and that's it, your run's over. Now for Trust, I'm using the standard haste buff Trust, along with some white mages for cures. Now really, if I'm to be honest, any Trust will do for easy difficulty, since they're pretty much all going to normally be dying. Now on very easy, I suggest a tank to make your life easier, but note that your tank may die when the triple Eagle Eye shot goes off at 75% hit points. So even if you have that tank there, be ready to take over if that happens. If you don't want to do that, perhaps even have two tanks in the fight so that once the first possibly dies, the second can take over and help you tank the remainder. Now while your Trust die, you will need to keep yourself alive with the Dancer sub-job, so don't be afraid to use it. Now if you are attempting this in a party setup this month, everyone really has to be on their game in regards to knowing when to face the mob and when to turn away, because there's going to be different points in the fight when both need to take place. Pet jobs are very useful as they can avoid many of the nasty moves. Whatever strategy you come up with, just make sure you've taken into account all the different phases and abilities that you've gone over that you're going to see in this fight. Good luck to everyone this month. Let's see what a very easy example looks like on Red Mage, and then we'll follow it up with a rather lengthy example of how it is you can solo this on the Ninja job with the Dancer sub-job. Enjoy the runs, everyone. That will be it for the January 2021 Volume 1 Intense Ambuscade video. My goodness, that was so much more challenging than it should have been for an easy difficulty. Let's hope next month isn't quite as painful. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. Stay safe and stay healthy.